Good morning. Today is Tuesday, May 12th, and we are working on our book, A Sick Day for Amos McGee. Yesterday we predicted, that means we took a guess as to what was going to happen in the book. And after we're done reading this today, we're going to go back to that writing, finish that up, and then we're also going to work on our retell of the story. In what order did things happen in the book? So make sure you're paying attention to what comes first, what comes in the middle of the story, and what comes at the end of the story. So I'm going to start by reading you the whole story today. A Sick Day for Amos McGee. Amos McGee was an early riser. Every morning when the alarm clock clanged, he swung his legs out of bed and swapped his pajamas for a fresh pressed uniform. He would wind his watch and set a pot of water to boil, saying to the sugar bowl, "A spoonful for my oatmeal, please, and 2 for my teacup." Belly full and ready for the workday, he'd amble out the door. Every day, Amos waited for the number 5 bus. "Next stop, City Zoo," the bus driver would call. 6 a.m., right on time, he'd reply. Amos had a lot to do at the zoo, but he always made time to visit his good friends. He would play chess with the elephant, who thought and thought before making a move. Run races with the tortoise, who never, ever lost. Sit quietly with the penguin, who was very shy. Lend a handkerchief to the rhinoceros, who always had a runny nose. And at sunset, read stories to the owl, who was afraid of the dark. One day, Amos awoke with the sniffles and the sneezes and the chills. He swung his achy legs out of bed, curled them back again, and said, "Ugh, I don't think I'll be going to work today." Meanwhile, at the zoo, the animals waited for their friend. The elephant arranged his ponds and polished his castles. The tortoise stretched his legs and limbered up. The penguin sat patiently, all by himself. The rhinoceros worried that his allergies were worsening. The owl perched atop a tall stack of storybooks, scratching his head with concern. "Where is Amos?" the animals wondered. Later that day, and it says City Zoo, so you can see they're leaving the zoo. And this is where we ended last time. We were guessing where they went. So let's find out where the animals go. You can see they're waiting, and it looks here like they're waiting for a bus. I want you to notice that even though there's no words, we're still learning about what happens in the story because the pictures tell the story. Yep, they got on a bus. "Hooray, my good friends are here." The elephant prepared a game of chess. Amos thought and thought before making a move. "I'm too tired to run races today," said Amos to the tortoise. "Let's play hide and seek instead." The tortoise hid in his shell, and Amos hid beneath the covers. Amos yawned. "I could use a nap." The penguin sat quietly, keeping Amos's feet warm. "Achoo!" Amos awoke with a sneeze. The rhinoceros was ready with a handkerchief. "I'm beginning to feel much better, thank you," said Amos to his friends. He swung his legs out of bed. Perhaps we'll share a pot of tea. Amos wound his alarm clock. It's getting late, he said. After all, we have a morning bus to catch. So Amos said goodnight to the elephant, and goodnight to the tortoise, and goodnight to the penguin, and goodnight to the rhinoceros, and goodnight to the owl, who, knowing that Amos was afraid of the dark, read a story out loud before turning out the light. The end. Did you like that story? It's one of my favorites. So before we work on the retell, I want to go back to the writing that we did yesterday. So I'm going to get that pulled on up, and we'll look at that together. So I already went ahead and did my writing, and I just kind of wanted to read it to you so you could see what I wrote, and you can write something similar or the same. We wrote yesterday together, I think the animals, and I said, will go on a trip. Will go on a trip. And the reason I thought that, even if I had never read the book before, I looked at that front cover and I could see that the animals were visiting Amos. So even if I had never read the book before, that was part of my prediction, was I used the pictures to help me. So I thought that they would go on a trip, and I did my very best drawing, and I ended my sentence with a period. So you didn't have to write that, but I hope that you did something like that. And I hope that you remembered to use very good writing with finger spaces, with lowercase letters, with punctuation or something to end your sentence. The bottom part says, write about what happens in the text. Well, that's the part that we read today. The animals went to see Amos. So I count, let's see, the animals went to see Amos. That's 6 words. If you want to write what I wrote, you can pause the video and you can write the animals went to see Amos, or you could try to write it by yourself. But that's what happened in the book, so that's what we're going to write, and then you can draw the picture that goes with it on the side. So if you need to pause to finish your writing, I would do that now. The next part of the video is going to be about the retell. So I'm going to get some retell pictures up here for you to use. Okay, so my pieces are big like this, but my pieces should match your pieces that look like this. So if you have to cut these out, go ahead, make sure they're cut out so you can do it with me. I'm going to tell you the very first one. I'm going to give you the start one. This one says, Amos got up early every morning and got ready for work at the zoo. And we know that's what happened at the very beginning of the book. I want you to help me figure what happens next. After he wakes up and gets ready, what does he do? Does he get sick? Does he play chess with the elephant and race the tortoise? Or do they all spend the night together? Which one happens next? Does he get sick? Does he play with the elephant and tortoise? Or does he go to bed? Which one do you think? I hope you said plays with the elephant and tortoise. Remember, he gets ready, he goes to work, and the first thing he does at the zoo is he plays with the elephant and tortoise. What happens next? After he plays with the elephant and tortoise, does he sit with the penguin, give a handkerchief to the rhino, and read a book to the owl? Or do the animals keep him company? Or do they get on a bus? What happens right after he plays with the elephant and tortoise? Think for a minute. I hope you said that he sits with the penguin, gives a handkerchief to the rhino, and reads a book to the owl. That's what happens next. So what happens after that? Let's see. Maybe after that, Amos is happy to see his friends at his house. Does that happen next? Or do they spend the night? Or one day, does Amos get sick? What happens next? Now, one day, Amos gets sick. So that's going to be our next one. So one day he gets sick. And what happens after he gets sick? Do they spend the night? Do they keep him company all day? Or do they get on a bus to visit Amos? What happens right after he gets sick? Yeah, they get on a bus. So right after he gets sick, they take the bus to go visit him. What happens next? Do they go to bed? Or is Amos happy to see his friends? Yeah, he's happy to see his friends. Then what happens? He sees his friends. Do they go to bed? Or do the animals stay with him and play games and keep him company? Yeah, they hang out a little bit. They play some games. They give him tissues. They keep him company. And then the very end, they all go to bed to get ready for the next morning. So I just put those in order. I'm going to go through them one more time with you so you can see. And you have cut these out. And when you do it, it's going to be this part of your elephant. Now, some of you might not make the whole elephant, and that's okay. If you're just doing the strip, start at the top with him getting ready for work and cut them out and go down all the way to the bottom to when they go to bed. If you didn't make the whole elephant, that's okay, but if you did, it should look like this at the end. So we'll go through it one more time. Amos got up early every morning and got ready for work to go to the zoo. Then he played chess with the elephant and had a race with the tortoise. Then he sat with the penguin, gave a handkerchief to the rhino, and read a book to the owl. One day, Amos was too sick to go to work. The animals got on a bus and went to visit Amos. Amos was so happy to see his friends. The animals stayed with him all day and kept him company. Then they all stayed the night with him. I hope you had fun with that. Like I said, it should look like this at the end. I'll hold it here. And you can go ahead and pause it on this if you need to take more time to look at how I made my elephant. I hope that's fun for you though. And we will do more reading tomorrow. Bye.